What if I told you there's a coffee in this world that costs $500 for a single pound, and another one that a wild animal has to eat first, before you can drink it, and another one that was invented by soldiers on a World War II battlefield? Did you ever think that behind every cup of coffee there's a story this wild? Today we're going inside those stories to decline, and every single one of them will shock you. Tip: look directly into the camera, speak fast. You need to stop the scroll within the first 5 seconds. Within the Let's start with the most expensive and arguably the most bizarre coffee in the world. Its name is Kopi Luwak, and it comes from Indonesia. Now listen carefully. There's a small animal here called the Asian palm civet. It looks something like a cat. This creature roams through coffee plantations and eats the ripe coffee berries. And then, well, it digests them. You know what that means. The coffee beans pass through the animal's digestive system. They're collected, cleaned, roasted, washed, and sold. The price? Between $100 to $500 per pound. That's roughly $80 to $400 for a single cup in some cafes. Now the real question: is it actually that good? People claim that enzymes inside the civet's stomach break down certain proteins in the beans in a way that reduces bitterness and creates a smoother, more complex flavor. But here's the dark side of this story. Demand for Kopi Luwak has exploded so much that civets are now being kept in tiny cages and force-fed coffee berries. Animal welfare organizations around the world are fighting against this practice. So one thing is certain: some people are willing to go to extreme lengths just for something unique. Would you drink this coffee? Drop your answer in the comments. First 5 seconds. First 5 seconds. Now let's travel back 500 years in time, the 1500s, the Ottoman Empire, covering what is today Turkey and much of the Arab world. And a new obsession was spreading like wildfire: coffee. Coffee houses were opening all over Istanbul, but these weren't just places to drink. People played chess, debated politics, listened to poetry. Sultan Murad IV actually made coffee illegal at one point. Why? Because he was afraid that people were gathering together and plotting against him. Think about that. A drink so powerful that a sultan had to ban it. Now let's talk about how Turkish coffee is actually made, because it's completely different from anything else. The beans are ground to an almost powder-like fineness. Then the coffee is simmered directly in a small pot called a tezve, along with water and sugar. No filter. You drink it straight from the cup and the grounds settle at the bottom. You stop drinking before you reach them. And here's something fascinating. Some people read the patterns left by the grounds at the bottom of the cup as a form of fortune-telling. Yes, Turkish coffee comes with a side of prophecy. Is this a drink or an entire civilization? You tell me. Now let's talk about a coffee that has butter in it. Yes, actual butter. It's called Bulletproof coffee. Here's the origin story. An American entrepreneur named Dave Asprey traveled to Tibet. It was freezing cold and he was completely exhausted. Someone handed him a cup of yak butter tea, made with fat from a yak, which is basically a large highland ox. He felt an instant surge of energy. His mind cleared. His body felt warm. He flew back to America and thought, what if I recreate this with coffee? His recipe: strong brewed coffee plus grass-fed butter plus MCT oil, a fat derived from coconut, blended together until smooth and creamy, almost like a latte but richer. People who follow keto and low-carb diets swear by it. They say the healthy fats provide long-lasting energy without a blood sugar crash. No hunger, no mid-morning slump. But doctors raised a concern. If you're replacing an actual meal with just fat and coffee, you're cutting out proteins, fiber, vitamins, and essential nutrients. So is Bulletproof coffee a revolution or just hype? Try it and tell us in the comments. We'd genuinely love to know. The year is 2020. The entire world is locked down inside their homes. And then a single TikTok video goes viral. A Korean actor tries a coffee in Macau and says on camera, What on earth is this thing? Within weeks, millions of people across Instagram and TikTok were making it at home. It was called Dalgona coffee, and making it was almost too easy. Equal parts instant coffee, sugar, and hot water, whipped together for 5 to 7 minutes until it transforms into a thick, pale, fluffy foam. Then you spoon that foam over a glass of cold milk. The layered look was stunning. Golden whipped foam on top, white milk beneath. It was made for social media. But here's the twist in the story that nobody was talking about. This exact same drink had existed for decades in India, Pakistan, and Libya. It was called beaten coffee, but or whipped coffee, and grandmothers had been making it at home for generations. Long before smartphones, long before TikTok, a single viral video rebranded it as a new invention, when in reality, it had been in our kitchens all along. Did you make Dalgona during lockdown? Tell us in the comments. And did anyone in your family already know how to make it before 2020? Vietnam, 1946. The country is at war. In the city of Hanoi, a bartender named Nguyen Van Giang is working at a hotel. The war has disrupted supply chains, and fresh milk has almost completely disappeared from the city. But people still want their coffee. Jiang stared at his empty milk supply and thought, what else can I use? He reached for an egg. He took the yolk, whipped it with sugar and condensed milk until it became a silky, thick, custard-like cream. Then he spooned this pale yellow cream gently over a strong cup of Vietnamese coffee. He called it Café Trung, egg coffee. People tasted it and were completely blown away. The flavor? People described it as liquid tiramisu, rich, sweet, creamy, but with a deep coffee punch underneath. It became so popular that Jiang eventually opened his own cafe, Cafe Jiang, which still stands in Hanoi today, still run by his family, still serving the original recipe. Desperate improvisation born out of wartime scarcity became one of the most unique and beloved coffees in the world. If you ever visit Hanoi, this is the one thing you cannot leave without trying. If there's one place on earth you could call the true home of coffee, it's Ethiopia. And there's a story here that most people have never heard. A goat herder named Kaldi noticed something strange one day. His goats had eaten the red berries from a particular tree, and that night they wouldn't sleep. They were dancing around, full of energy. Kaldi brought the berries to a monk. The monk boiled them in water, drank the liquid, and found he could stay awake through his night prayers with ease. Coffee's entire journey began with a goat, but in Ethiopia, coffee is not just a drink. It is a ceremony, a ritual, almost a prayer. The Ethiopian coffee ceremony, called buna, can last up to 2 hours. First, raw green coffee beans are roasted over an open flame right in front of you. The entire room fills with the aroma. Then the beans are ground by hand. Then brewed in a clay pot called a jebana. Coffee is served 3 times and each round has a meaning. The first pour, it's called a bowl, is the strongest. It's for pleasure. The second, tona, is more diluted. It's for contemplation. The third, baraka, meaning blessing, is believed to bring good fortune to everyone who drinks it. The ceremony cannot be complete without guests. It is meant to be shared. We make instant coffee in 3 minutes. They turn it into a 2-hour shared experience. Which version of coffee feels more meaningful to you? If you ever visit Hanoi, this is the one thing you cannot leave without trying. Now let's travel to another part of Africa, Senegal. There's a drink here called Café Touba, and it is not just a coffee. For many people, it is an act of faith. The Murid Brotherhood, a large Sufi Islamic order founded in Senegal in the late 1800s, considers this drink sacred. It's named after the holy city of Touba in Senegal. The recipe is unlike anything else in the coffee world. Coffee is brewed together with a rare West African spice called selim pepper, also known as grains of salim. Sometimes cloves are added as well. The result is a coffee with a warm, spiced, slightly medicinal quality that you will not find anywhere else on earth. It tastes like nothing you've had before. For Senegalese people, this isn't just a morning drink. Drinking Cafe Touba is considered both a daily habit and a spiritual act. Vendors called talibi walk through cities and towns carrying large thermoses and pour the coffee into small cups on street corners throughout the day. Think about that. A coffee so deeply embedded in culture and faith that drinking it feels like a form of prayer. In our own cultures, even offering someone a cup of tea carries warmth and meaning. Imagine when that cup becomes part of your entire identity and belief system. If you ever visit Hanoi, this is the one thing you cannot leave without trying. Guys, a coffee that an animal has to eat before you can drink it. A coffee that was banned by a sultan because it was considered dangerous. A coffee that a bartender invented during wartime with nothing but an egg. A coffee that went viral on TikTok that your grandmother was already making decades ago. And a coffee that people drink as an act of spiritual devotion. Coffee is not just a drink. It is history. It is culture. It is love. It is desperation. It is invention. The next time you hold a cup, whether it's instant or freshly brewed, pause for just a second. Think about how many centuries of human story had to happen for that cup to reach your hands. If this video made you see coffee differently, hit that like button and drop a comment telling us how coffee is made in your home. And if you want us to explore the fascinating history behind traditional drinks from South Asia and the Middle East, subscribe right now because that episode is coming very soon. See you in the next one.